You're listening to Dude Check This Out, Episode 10!
Hello everybody and welcome to Dude Check This Out, the only podcast on the internet where both Noah and I know literally everybody who listens.
Yep.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Noah.
Hey, and welcome to the show this week. Noah, how you doing?
Doing pretty alright. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing good. It's been a while since we recorded.
It has. We recorded the last episode, it would have been like before New Year's.
Yeah, like a month ago.
About a month ago. So we used to have like a nice cushy backlog of episodes that we could run through and not be worried about having to record more and produce more. But we ran out.
We don't anymore.
As of this Wednesday, Hotline Miami went up. So
Yep.
we are flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, man. It's good. We are interacting with the audience. We are close.
Yeah.
Now, if I tweet things that I still haven't done at all,
Yeah, we need
it'll
to get
be
on that.
yeah, but it'll be like actual, like, hey, this is the things I'm looking at. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Feel free to send in emails. We'll talk about them on the show,
Yeah,
probably
'cause
in a
we're-
timely manner.
Yeah, we're now up to date. Yeah. So, anything new happened that you haven't told me in the last hour or so?
I don't know.
That you want to tell the viewers? Your cat is here.
Yes, she is. Kiki is right there.
Do you have anything you want to say?
We're in my room today. Oh, is she purring?
No.
I can't really hear.
No, she's not. I'm sorry. I'm not petting her enough. Let me get on that.
Oh, she'll get there. Her purr box is pretty crazy. Yeah, we're in my room today.
Yeah, we're back.
And which is why my cat is here. Oh no, okay.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, she will let you pet her all day and night if she keeps standing near and you keep doing that.
Yep.
It'll just
We're
be
friends
all the time. But yeah, I don't know. We're hanging out to further timestamp this old deal. The last 3 days in Houston, everything was frozen.
Yeah, it was pretty silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not leave my apartment because I was like, oh, I don't want to drive on the frozen roads. Not because I don't think I could, but because I don't trust other people.
Yeah.
And people were like going backwards on 59.
Yeah,
like,
you saw that?
reversing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I
That was
didn't
really
leave my
funny.
apartment.
That was there's this comedian I follow on YouTube, Chinadu. Shout out to Chinadu.
Yeah,
He's a like Houston.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, he did a video yesterday about the people going backwards on 59, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb. So I'm glad I didn't leave and get stuck going backwards on 59 because that would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we also got these new fancy mics.
We do. I got a fancy mixer for Christmas. Thank you, mommy and daddy.
Thanks, mommy.
Thanks, mommy.
Thanks, mommy.
My mommy does everything. She makes me sandwiches. She buys me fancy mixers.
She's such a great woman.
She's the best. But yeah, we got this fancy new equipment. So hopefully this show sounds better than what we were using before, which was 2 Rock Band microphones plugged into my MacBook.
Yeah, unfortunately, with those microphones, I could put my entire mouth around it and make horrible noises. These are way too nice, and they have the little foam protecty thing, so
Yeah.
I can't do that. It's kind of sad.
Can't.
I don't think we ever put it into an actual podcast, me making those noises, but I made them a lot.
Yeah. I think that was probably in some of the bits that I thought about putting after credits, but didn't want to blow people's ears out because it was just the worst sound.
Yeah, I think it's for the best.
Just the worst. But I don't know. I feel like you could fit your entire mouth over this if you try.
I don't want to try. I could.
If you really put your mind to it. I mean, I wouldn't be excited about it because these mics are nice, and I would probably do some stuff to them.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. But no, I'm very tempted to. But I won't. Okay, but enough about us and our fancy microphones.
What are we here to do?
Yeah, we are here to talk about a manga called Bakuman. And Bakuman is a manga about writing a manga.
The mangaka.
Yeah, those are the people. And it's written by Tsumi Oba and drawn by Takashi Obata. And they're the same duo that did Death Note for all those other Japanese nerds out there like I am who watched that back in high school or whatever and got way too edgy for their own good. Shout out to my little brother.
Oh, did he watch
Yeah,
it?
he just recently
right?
watched it. Yeah, maybe about like a few months ago. He also just got through Brotherhood.
Oh,
which you really liked.
Yeah,
which is really great.
That they finally put the end of that on Netflix.
Oh, really?
They like had everything on there except the ending, like the last like 15 episodes up on Netflix for the longest time, and they finally like
why
just this past week put it all up there.
did they just not have like the dubbed for it
I
or
have
something?
no idea.
Oh, that's odd. Well, anyways, shout out to Christopher. He's a cool guy.
What's up?
So it ran 176 chapters in Jump from 2008 to 2012, and it's a shonen manga, which means that it's targeted towards young boys, teenage boys. So it's a lot of like follow your dreams, fight hard, you can do it if you put your mind to it, and that kind of stuff. Not so much all about romance or feelings or all that stuff, though. That is in there because, you know, all the guys, all like teenage boys don't want to talk about feelings, but they'll have feelings, so they want to like do stuff with that without having that be like the main focus.
Yeah.
It's a manga about writing manga, so it has a lot of the inner workings of like the behind the scenes stuff with editors, and there's a lot of mangaka versus mangaka, like who's gonna write the better thing, who's gonna get higher in the questionnaires, who's gonna get canceled, who's not, all that good stuff. And Noah, you told me you've read like 106 of the chapters?
Yeah, out of what, 176? Yeah.
So yeah, it was so you definitely
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you had a lot longer than just 2 weeks to read all 106 chapters of that, but it is still a whole bunch to
It's still
read.
a whole bunch, and also for my day job, I read like 20-page comic books a week anyway.
So it's just a lot.
There's just a lot of comics being read around my parts.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, it was very excellent.
Yeah, great. Okay, so that's kind of the intro. So Noah, give me your hot take
My hot take.
on Bakuman.
It was really good. I liked it a lot.
That's very similar
Show's
to the
over.
last- I feel like we've made that exact joke before, almost with that exact cadence.
And I will continue to do so.
Perfect.
But yeah, no, it was really good. I really like the process of making the manga was really interesting because I knew at least a little bit about it, about like usually it's like one or two creators doing all this work. I didn't know about the specific tools they used, which was really, really interesting.
Yeah, they talk about that a lot at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Because, like, I, as, you know, someone who works at a comic book store and just, like, someone who's, like, curious, like, I follow a lot of comic book creators on Twitter, and I'm just, like, naturally curious about, the like, how comics are made and, like, the process of you know, creative teams and stuff like that. And the way that comics are made in America are like way different than in Japan. Yeah, because or at least with manga, because manga it's like either the author is also the artist, or there's like an art, you know, like a writer and artist duo. And with American comics, there's like the writer and the artist and the colorist and the letterer. And, like, all, like, at least, like, in modern comics, there's, like, at least 10 to 12 people that touch that book before it goes out on the stands.
Yeah, but also, manga and American comics are very different because American comics are always colored and they come in, like, single issues, where a lot of manga is, like, you buy Jump, which is, like, the big hunk of, like, big boy that has
big anthology series.
Yeah, and then each issue of Jump will have, like, 15 or 17 different series in it that you get to read. So, you know, at the beginning you'll read like One Piece and then Bleach and then Naruto, and then you'll go into like Bakuman and things like that as well. Yeah, that are all in that one big series that you buy that has the one issue for that week or for that month or whatever.
Yeah, like whereas in American comics you would buy like whatever single issues you would want, but with manga it's like you get like Jump and you get a bunch of single issues from different series all in one thing.
Yeah.
because it's a magazine instead of
individual comics.
Yeah, and I just thought that was all really interesting to see all that. And yeah, as far as like the story and everything, I thought the characters were really, really cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of he puts a lot of energy into pretty much anything that happens, like because it's all very kind of slice of life. There's not really any mysticism or like something that would be in a traditional battle manga or anything like that. It's all, everything is always really high stakes. The way that the artist draws everything is really dynamic and engaging to look at, and makes everything seem really important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also really like the way that the characters, like, it shows the passing of time. Even though the characters look almost exactly the same from when they're in middle school to like being in their 20s, which I think is,
they do
like, I guess like if I were to look at them side by side, I might be able to tell some differences, but like not a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they look super similar. You don't notice it, at least, but there is, I will say, I know you haven't finished it yet, but in like the last issue that shows the main character and his love interest, they're standing at a spot where they stood way back when. It shows them like standing there with their like past selves standing there, and that's when you're like, oh wow, they do look really different, but they don't look that different. But they're like, oh no, they look like, oh, she looks so much younger there than she is now. But it's about the set piece and what that means, probably more so than they actually look significantly different.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
That's good. So let's go into all of the characters.
Yeah.
We'll kind of go through that first, then we'll hit some of the story, then we'll hit some of the art, what we liked about the art and that kind of stuff, and then we can talk about things that we didn't like and kind of wrap it all up.
Rad.
So there are a lot of characters, like a lot of characters. We're not even going to touch on all of them. We'll just touch on the ones that I think are important, which are still a boatload.
There's still a lot of characters.
Because this is the
There's
first...
a lot of people that move in and out of the story.
Yeah, but I mean, you've read 106 chapters, so you've probably read... Each chapter's what, like 20 pages or something like that?
Yeah, on average, it's like 19 to 20 pages.
Yeah, so that's just a lot of content that you've gone through, which I appreciate. Cool. So the first character I want to talk about is... I'm going to butcher all these names. It's going to be so embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, no.
So everyone out there...
Gaijin.
Yeah, everyone out there, just...
Gaijin.
Be okay with my terrible pronunciation. So, Moritaka Mashiro, who is the artist.
Yeah.
The main artist.
And I guess you could say main character.
Yeah, I'd say he's the main character.
He's always like, when you see the covers, he's like front and center, and
yeah, he's the main dude.
The other character who you could maybe say is the other main character is always kind of like off center.
Yeah. They're both always up there, but I would say he's the main character.
Yeah.
He's the one that the story follows the closest, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess you go first, kind of what you thought about him, and then I'll give a little bit of my thoughts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, main dude, Mashiro, what do you think?
He's cool. I really like all of his determination for his art and stuff. I think as far as like the kind of main quest of the book, which is to, get a manga going and then turn it into an anime, and then that's when he and his love interest can get married thing, is dumb. I was trying to think of a word. It's just
It's pretty stupid.
It's fun for, I guess, like like you said, a shonen manga where that's like aimed at younger kids, but as reading it as an adult grown-up man in his 20s, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah. So the main plot of the whole manga is Mashiro and his friend Takagi. They're going to write manga together because they start in junior high. They're going to write manga together, and they're going to get in Jump, and they're going to make a successful anime because that's their dream. And Mashiro wants to do it because Azuki, who is his love interest, she wants to be a voice actor, so he'll write a manga that'll become an anime, and then the anime will feature her as the voice actor, as the heroine of the anime.
And then their dreams come true.
When that happens, their dreams come true, and then they can get married and live happily ever after. And then a bunch of stuff happens along the way, but that's like the whole crux.
All that stuff gets complicated, which is cool. Like, we'll talk about like why some of that stuff is interesting.
Yeah,
but like how very they say this in the book, like how stubborn they are of keeping that going is kind of dumb.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with you. I thought that as a character, he was kind of not perfect. He's really stubborn.
Which, you don't want characters to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And had enough character flaws that made things kind of fun and could add good drama. But a lot of the drama and a lot of, like, the kind of the conflict in a lot of chapters were just really dumb misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Like, really, really dumb, where he's just like, I refuse to even try to understand you because I'm too stubborn.
And I won't even talk to you about it because that would solve all my problems.
Exactly. And I don't know how much of that, there's a few things in here. I don't know how much of it is I don't understand Japanese culture. And so living with Evan Parazot and my other roommate, David Na, who was Korean, in college, they kind of talked to me a little bit about, sometimes they would have arguments, and then they'd be like, well, I can't apologize, because if I apologize, I lose. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not... What, you lose what? And he's like, well, I lose. I can't do that. My pride's in the way. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just talk to him, and then everything will be fine. He's like, Kevin, it's an Asian thing you don't understand. And I was like, okay, man. Like, maybe they're both Korean. And I was like, I don't know. So I don't know if that's a real thing or if they were being racist or I'm racist. I don't know. But so that's where, like, things like this, I personally think are pretty dumb. A lot of things with Mashiro are kind of dumb, but they're fun.
Yeah.
They're fun, but they're kind of stupid. And I don't know if that's my uncultured eyes looking at a culture I don't understand, or trying to put my thoughts and ideas into a culture that is different from mine.
Right.
Or it's just bad writing. I'm not sure which.
I mean, might be a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, but I do see what you're saying about, like the cultural thing about, like, those feelings and whether or not you're supposed to engage with other people, even though it would just make everything better. Yeah. But no, I get that.
So I'm not sure, but I do think that he's definitely a character that you want to root for.
Oh yeah,
because he's so earnest and he really wants, and he has this, like, really, and the manga does kind of make fun of the dream itself of, like, the whole thing where a lot of people are like, that's stupid, just go talk to her, like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I can't do that, that would ruin everything. And she's like, of course we can't do that, our dreams are important. Which they tried to kind of explain it away in a horrible, horrible, horrible way, but that's fine. I just kind of ignored that, where it's just, that's what the manga needs to get the story to keep going. So I jumped on board with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Takagi, the writer, man, the second half of Ashirogi, who is, like, their, like, writer, their pen name or whatever.
Yeah, Ashirogi Muto.
Yeah.
Yeah, Takagi, he was cool. I liked him. I like the way that, because he's supposed to be their writer, and he starts off trying to, like, come up with a story for, the manga that they're going to put in Jump, and kind of throughout the entire series, they find out that his strength is stuff that's not mainstream. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not good at battle manga, which is, like, the thing that's going to be the most popular in Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
So he has to learn how to take that style and make it something that would appeal to a larger audience.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is really interesting to kind of see that evolution.
Yeah, and it's a really cool kind of different angle to take on it. And also, since the actual writer for this whole manga, it wrote Death Note, which is a super dark and whatever manga, I think it kind of reflects themselves, of them being like, hey, probably their most respected work would be Death Note.
Yeah, because that's something that, like, traditionally that should be something that's, like, super dark and not really, come across to the mainstream. But, like, I mean, I don't know how it's perceived in Japan, but, like, in America, it was crazy popular.
Yeah.
Like, everyone I knew in middle school and high school were, like, all about Death Note. And, like, if you went to a Hot Topic circa, like, everywhere. 2010, like, it was everywhere.
I remember I bought an L, like, sweatband once. I was like, white L on it that I bought back in high school, and I wore around because I thought it was cool. No, I wasn't even doing, like, physical activity. I just wore a sweatband that had an L on it.
I'm pretty sure over there on my bookshelf I have, like, a Death Note, like, kind of secrets of the Death Note kind of, like like companion book for the series that like kind of has like a bunch of, you know, little nitty-gritty details about characters and stuff. But yeah, Death Note was crazy popular, and yeah, I can see how that's like a reflection for Tagaki, for like the writer of Bakuman and Death Note, as like trying to apply that style to something that will be popular.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. I also think he's a good foil to Mashiro a lot of the time, where he is kind of the audience. He takes the place of the audience sometimes of telling him like, you're being stupid, or like this is dumb, and then later he is kind of the like, once the audience is kind of really bought into the whole manga, has said like he'll defend him, be like, yeah, I know it's weird and dumb, but like just go with it. Like, yes, I get that, but just like, it's fine. Like we're on board with this. We're like, I'm on his team. We want him to win. We're all rooting for him. So, and he does have his own character arcs and a lot of cool stuff going on with him, but I think he's a good foil to Mashiro in a lot of different situations, which is cool.
Yeah.
All right, Nizuma Eiji, the guy who writes Crow and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think
cool.
he's really, really cool, because he's like they call him the genius. He's a manga genius.
Yeah, I mean, after Death Note, you know they had to have somebody, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely started picking up on that later, that like
He's literally L.
He's literally L. He sits up in his chair with like, you know, his legs up and stuff. He has a lot of kind of really not like normal mannerisms and stuff like that. I really like the way he draws manga, because he'll like, you know, like throw his pen across, you know, the table in a really dramatic fashion and make a lot of sound effects like baking and sharoom and stuff like that, which is super cool. Yeah, because he writes Crow, which is like he's a genius, because he writes like he can write mainstream, he writes battle manga, and he can do it really fast. Like he just like every time they ask him like, hey, can you like do a name, and then he'll just like, you know, do it in like 20 minutes, and everyone's like, that's crazy, whoa.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, name is like the first draft of a manga.
Yeah, that'd be like for American comics, that's like the outline.
Yeah.
Or like just like very simple like figures in panel grids and like dialogue, just to like show what the structure of the comic is going to be before like actually doing the illustration part.
Yeah, and I definitely read that as name the whole time. I've never called it a name before, but that's probably what it's called.
I would assume, because that makes it really confusing when you're like reading it in English. But I just assumed it was name because the Japanese language is there's a lot of emphasis on syllables. So I'm assuming it's name. I could also be wrong.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I have no idea. But that's the way I've been saying it. And if someone out there would like to correct us, I welcome you to. Please help. But
Please help.
For the rest of this podcast,
That's what we're gonna call it.
That's what I'm sticking to.
Yeah. So I liked Eiji a lot, or Nizuma. I thought he was definitely the L character. I mean, they had to have a genius in there, and I think a lot of the times when he wasn't featured in the story, they just used him for foreshadowing or to raise the stakes and that kind of stuff, because they say like he's such a genius that he can like, when he makes predictions or if he does things like that, everyone's like, oh, Neji's never wrong. Like, oh, if he said it's going to be good, like, oh, it's going to be amazing. And so a lot of the time where the story isn't focused on him, he'll just be talking to his editor, and the editor will be like, oh, what do you think of, you know, Ashiroguri's manga right now? And he's like, I don't think it's going to go very far. And everyone's like, oh no.
Meanwhile, everyone, like, before he said that was like, oh, this is going great. It's going to, you know, go the distance. It'll be, you know, like, it'll be a huge success for Jump. And then, like, he'll say something like that. And then it'll have, like, it's usually the last page of that chapter. And it'll be a little sneer like, what? He doesn't think, oh.
Yeah. So I think when he's featured in the story a lot, I think is really, really great. But I do think that he's also used as just kind of a tool to raise the stakes. And that when he's not the focus, they kind of do that sometimes, which is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to keep going with the main characters first. So Miho Azuki, which is Mashiro's, the artist guy's, his love interest, the voice actor girl.
She's okay. I mean, so I've talked to you a little bit about, like, kind of it vaguely where the series goes forward from where I currently am, and you say that she gets more interesting toward the very end of the series, which, like, that sounds cool and great, but, like, you don't really see a lot of her in, like, the first half of the series, and when you do see her, it's just, like, she is there as, like, the goal for Mashiro to do all the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, so she definitely, we're going to hit on this as we go through all the female characters. We'll just kind of get this out of the way. They're not very good.
Nope. Unfortunate to say, they are not very
man, it is
good.
the one major downfall of this manga. I love this manga a lot. I really enjoy reading it, but the more I read it, the more that just either the artists and the writer don't really understand women, they don't really care about women, or I don't know what, but there's
it's just not it doesn't seem like it's a priority for them to make female characters that are believable characters,
or just actual
like,
people
yeah,
with
like
goals and ideas that don't pertain to the men.
Characters that act like humans.
Yeah.
With, like, real lady feelings and not, like, fictional lady feelings.
Yeah, it's pretty not good. So, fair warning, we're going to keep going through them, and that's going to come up a lot. But though overall the manga's good, but it is definitely a shonen manga, and this is one of the biggest faults where it really, really shows.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely about more like what teenage guys think women are like or would be. And or kind of
something that, like, you would see in, like, a harem manga even or something.
Yeah, it's no, I don't know if it's that
it's not
bad,
that extreme, but, like,
it's closer to that than women with actual character and depth and feelings and intellect. So, but there, I mean, if you've read or watched Death Note, you kind of know where we're coming from. Yeah, because that's not good either.
But, like, Azuki, she's cool. I really like that she, really wants to be a voice actress, and she kind of, like, she starts off by kind of going, like, the idol route for a while. And there was that interesting bit, like, really early on where, like, her manager tries to get her to do, like, a gravure, like, book, and, like, she knows that, like, that's not going to really get her where she wants to go, even though, like, he kept saying, like, no, like, you need to do that or else, you'll be a nobody. And she just keeps working hard and doesn't have to do that. Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah, she does have some cool moments in between. And the very last arc has she is very more prominent, actually has things to say and that kind of stuff. Though, granted, it's still all because of Mashiro and not really her own deal. It kind of is. It's okay. Yeah. She is more of a goal than anything else throughout the whole manga, though. Not an actual character. Yeah. All right, another female character, Kaya Miyoshi.
Yeah, I really like her personality. Yes. Her as a character is also unfortunate because she starts off, so, like, she's, introduced as, like, Miho's friend, and through, like, a miscommunication, her and Tagaki start dating, and, like, at first she just kind of seems like the girl that he is dating just, like, by circumstance, but then, like, as they continue to date, I actually really, really like their relationship as, like, two people who love each other, but unfortunately that is literally the only thing she has going on in this entire series. Yeah. She is there to help them out achieve their dreams and, like, occasionally do some, like, inking and tones and stuff like that, bring them some tea and make them food and whatever. And even something I realized, like, as I was reading this recently, because they, like, get married eventually, and Tagaki has a job, but Miyoshi doesn't. Nope. And, like, they don't even have a kid, so, like, you could say that, like, oh, she's, like, a housewife, and, like, that's cool because that's fulfilling for her. But, like, I mean, if she's, like, she's doing chores and stuff, and, like, that's fine, and, like, I'm not saying that being a housewife isn't a not cool thing to do, but, like, what does she do?
Yeah, when he's at work all day, and they talk about how much they work, like, they're working non-stop, where they don't have time for holidays or things like that, because they're working so hard.
And she's there, like, helping them out too, but, like, not all the time. Yeah. And I don't know. I wish she had some goals of her own that weren't just help the dudes out.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I didn't like about this the most. There was a time where there was a little stint in there where she was wanting to be like a phone novelist near the beginning. She's like, oh, I want to write like phone novels. That's a thing. And I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But sure, you have a dream. And then eventually she goes on and Tagagi is just writing it for her. And then she's like, I found a new dream to make your dreams come true. And I was like, okay, well, that's horrible.
Yeah. That's like, I was like excited for her to like start to do something on her own. And then she just gave up on that and wrapped back into the like, okay, my thing is that I hang out with you guys.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be, having kind of throwaway characters or characters that just serve towards the main plot is fine. But it just kind of sucks that she's like a core character is always there, always doing stuff, and is more just to have a female around than to actually be a character.
Yeah.
So that is unfortunate. Okay, so Yuriko Aoki.
Aoki's cool. I think she's probably my favorite female character
sure.
in this whole thing, because she, like, especially at first, because like she comes to Jump and she wants to do her manga, and it's like a like fantasy manga that doesn't really have much battles or anything like that. She just wants it to be mystical, and she has a really unique art style. And they try to tell her that she needs to change like a lot about it, and she sticks to her guns. She's just like, nope, this is what it is, take it or leave it. And they're like, but it's not going to be but it's the thing I want to do. It's the way I want to tell the story, and I'm doing it that way. And they at least get like another character to come in and like do some of the fill-in art for her, so to kind of like tighten up some of her style. But I really like how just like stick to her guns she was at first.
Yeah.
Because then after that series gets canceled, she starts doing a like harem manga kind of thing, or like
ecchi,
a
whatever.
like slight ecchi kind of series where like she literally has to learn how to draw panty shots from another dude artist.
Yeah.
Which is a little gross.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of Japanese culture. That's just kind of
like that's just kind of the way it is
in Japan, which
isn't also is kind of not an okay thing.
Yeah,
but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, I'm not saying it's good or okay, but the fact that they just are so matter of fact about like, if you want to be successful, you want to be popular, that's what you have to do. And she's like,
and it's especially
I
great
guess you're right.
It's a lady writing it. That makes it even more appealing. It's just,
and I think that's just more Japanese stuff than the artist or the writer, like the duo actually being sexist or something. I mean,
like they at least make that scene kind of gross at first, but then that's just what it is, and then they don't talk about how it's gross anymore.
Yeah, and because she's very much against it at first. Yeah, she's like, I don't want to do that.
But then it succeeds.
Yeah, and then she's
like, where I'm at, it hasn't been canceled yet. It's like kind of floating around the like 10th place space, which is like stable for it. So,
and that's where I think some of this is just Japanese culture that you just kind of have to shrug off.
Yeah, one of those things that comes with anime, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Shinta Fukuda. He's the guy who runs Kyoshi, and he's another mangaka.
He's really cool because he does like the very, very traditional shonen style of like his first series, Kyoshi Night, is a lot of like really like kind of street tough, like battle manga stuff. And then like where I'm at right now, he starts that motorcycle racer series, which also looks really cool. And he's just kind of like your kind of standard tough guy, but I really like the way that he rallies the characters, because they make Team Fukuda, which is like all the characters. It's like Miyoshi, it's not Miyoshi, Mashiro, Tagaki, Fukuda, Iji, and Aoki,
and then Hiruma comes in later,
and Nakai and all them, but like they're all like Team Fukuda, and their whole thing is that we're going to change Jump. We're going to be like the next generation of like Jump writers that are going to like set the course for what Jump is now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think he's really cool. I like that. And he's like, that big tough guy that says what he wants or whatever, but he, he's a big softy on the inside and what have you. And I like how he's always eating ramen in all of his scenes, and then it's always like coming out of his nose and stuff. I think it's pretty good.
And just as a side note, I really like his assistant too, the guy with the mohawk. He's
cool.
always yelling and is always excited.
Yeah, he's great. All right, Kazuya Hidemaru. He is another mangaka.
I think we've talked about this, and I think Hidemaru might be our favorite
Oh,
character.
he's so,
He's so good. Because his whole thing is that he started off as like a salaryman or whatever, just like an office man, decided he didn't want to work to make a living anymore, so he just like picked up an issue of Jump and went like, this is fine, I bet I could do this, and then goes on to like write one of the most popular series in Jump for like like the first half of the series, like his series Otter's 11 is like always like in the top 5 or something. And Otter's 11 is awesome because it's like a secret agent guy that has an otter head for a head and like walks around like a human, kind of like a Fantastic Mr. Fox kind of situation.
But more, I would say it's more like the have you seen that like internet meme or whatever of like Office Cat Man?
Yeah,
It's like that. So it's like a dude that's like an office worker or a secret agent or something, and he just is like a normal dude with an otter for a head, and that's the only difference.
And like the entire like the story in Otter's 11 is played really seriously, but the fact that everyone looks the way they do with like weird animal faces and stuff, it becomes hilarious.
Yeah, and can't he like make his hands like giant boulders
I think
and like
so.
punch people?
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Yeah, he's awesome, and his relationship with his editor is just the best.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wanted to do manga because he thought it'd be easy, but then found out how like very, very hard it is to do manga in the time that you need to do it, and how very hard it is to like succeed at being a mangaka. And so he's always wanting to like, I just need to take a break, like a week break and I'll be fine. And his editor is like always telling him that he can't take a break, but like I'll give you like a little reprieve for like just a second to like get your spirits up, but you need to go to work like immediately back right now.
Yeah.
And his Hidemaru is awesome.
Yeah, he's probably arguably my favorite character.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Okay, Aiko Iwase.
Yeah, Iwase is interesting because she's also like a really cool female character in that like she is one of the, like, aside from Nizuma Iji, she's probably like their biggest rival.
Yeah.
Like the one that like she'll make a proclamation and that'll like really get the fire under their butt to like, like fight her.
Yeah, because
manga.
she like way back. She went to middle school with Tagaki and them.
Yeah.
And then
started off as intellectual rivals.
Yeah, and then she has this big rivalry with Tagaki, and so she doesn't want to lose to him so bad that it like is actually her only defining character.
Yeah.
And so because of that, Tagaki doesn't want to lose to her, and so there's that big rivalry there.
It's cool that like she has this big rivalry, but then it's also because like she's tsundere and she kind of likes him.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and also the thing that pissed me off the most about her character was that like once Tagaki and Miyoshi get married, and like he kind of is off the off the game board for like romance, then she starts going boy crazy for like all the other guy characters. And,
Yeah.
like because her editor Hattori, who we'll talk about later, she starts trying to like, what do you think of me as a woman, and like please love me, and then like she starts. Like everyone starts thinking that she starts developing romantic feelings for Nizuma, and like
Yeah, it is the time.
it's that part was really frustrating. But I do really like how passionate she is about her rivalry with Ashirugi Moto.
Yeah, and I think she's a pretty fun character to kind of hate.
Yeah, especially at first.
Yeah, at first she's kind of a fun character to kind of hate, but then when you actually, I feel like the manga writes it as she's a fun character to hate, and kind of see her fail is kind of fun. But if you take a step back and look at her as an actual character, it's kind of sad.
Yeah,
But
could be better.
It could be better. Okay, let's go to Akira Hattori. So this is the editor for the ones that pick up Ashirogi Muto at the very beginning.
Yeah, and he's really, really cool.
Mhm.
I really like him because of how much he like really believes in the creative team.
Yeah.
How like from the very first thing that they show him, he sees their potential and wants it to like foster it and grow it so they can be like, you know, become one of the best, you know, creative teams, you know, Shonen Jump's ever seen.
Yeah.
And it like I felt as bummed as I think, you know, the creators wanted me to feel when they get their first, when they get Trap serialized, their first series, and then they get handed off from him being their editor to who we'll talk about later, Miura.
Yep. We'll talk about him next.
Yeah, it was just kind of, you get to know Hitori, you know, through the first serialization of Trap, and it's a bummer to see him go.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you still see him around, but like, you know that like this isn't right.
Yeah.
He should be with them because he knows them so well.
Yeah.
And like how to make them better.
Yeah, he definitely is like they make it seem like he's the one, like he's the best. Like,
Yeah.
he's ideal, and then you get somebody else, and you're like, God, like I want him back. Come on.
Yeah, so he's got the touch as far as like knowing what will be successful in manga and stuff, and that he's also just super nice.
Yeah, he's a cool
He's also
guy.
drawn really differently from everyone else.
Yeah,
he's got like the thick lips kind of situation, which you see in you know, manga and everything.
And I think that a few of the editors, and I think Hitori might be one of them, were modeled off of actual real life editors at Jump that the people at Bakuman knew, and so like wrote into their story. I think Hitori is one of them, that he's like modeled off of an actual guy.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Also, he makes really good faces. I like a lot of,
because he has like the
they draw
straight,
his
just
face.
really big round eyes with just like the black pupils, not
Yeah.
like the anime or like whatever eyes.
He'll make
pretty
his
great.
mouth into a circle sometimes.
Yeah.
When he's being inquisitive. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So now next is Goro Mirua.
Yeah, Mirua, I thought was really interesting because he's like a young editor.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't been there for a long time. He doesn't have as much experience as someone like Hitori, and he's their first editor for Trap for their first serialized series, and kind of runs it into the ground. Or like, it wasn't entirely his fault, but he just kept telling them to like add more jokes because he was very focused on doing jokes. And then they had him, when they did their second series, the gag series,
Yeah, Tonto.
and he could just not get off the gags.
Yeah.
And like, they had a big fight with him,
Yeah, they did.
and then like, you finally, like, not only him but also the creative team, Ashura Yamamoto, they all kind of grow together through the hardships of that second series and it being what it was. So I thought him, like, the way his character grew from him being introduced to where I'm at right now, at least, was really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think he's one of the characters that you don't really like that much at the beginning, because Ashura Yamamoto doesn't really like him either.
Yeah.
And so you kind of are like, man, like, I just want Hitori back. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But near the end, as he grows and that kind of stuff, I end up really liking him as a character.
Yeah, I like him a lot right now.
Yeah, so he is very interesting, and it, I think it's cool that they have characters that aren't perfect in like this. They don't always give the perfect story or whatever, and that Ashura Yamamoto's path to, you know, making their dreams come true isn't like super smooth, and it's not all, the good guy doesn't always win.
Yeah.
Right? They have to go through these like struggles and that kind of stuff. So I think that it's a kind of a real world kind of perspective, because even at the beginning, Mashiro says, like, you know, there's good editors and there's bad editors. And Miura is not a bad editor because he's not, you know, slacking off. He's really, really trying very hard,
Yeah.
but he's just inexperienced.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the tenure that a lot of the other editors there do. Like, he doesn't have a series yet under his belt that he can say like was a success.
Yeah. So I do think that it's a very interesting, and it's cool to see him kind of grow and also put in the work the same way that Ashura Yamamoto kind of puts in the work. They kind of do it together and grow together.
You see it from the editor's side as well as the creative team side.
Yeah. All right, the last guy we're going to talk about is Takumi Nakai.
Yeah.
He starts off as an assistant, and he has a big rocky kind of road.
Yeah, because he starts off, you know, like pretty likable.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, you know, his appearance is really likable. just like nice guy, because he starts off as Aoki's like fill-in artist.
Yeah.
Like tightening up her style, and he's part of Team Fukuda, and like everyone's like rah, yeah, we're in this together. And he's like in his 30s, so he's like really hungry to get something serialized because he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life as an assistant artist. But then he just becomes like the most hateable
he's
jerk
the
bag.
Worst. He's just terrible.
Because his whole arc of like getting serialized and then wanting to work with Aoki again because he like has a huge crush on her, and like at first, like he does the whole thing where like he's trying to prove to her that he can be her artist, and is like out in the snow like day and night drawing the manga, and I was kind of bummed that she didn't see that as creepy.
Yeah.
Which was like, because it was totally creepy and not okay.
Bad. Yeah.
And then it does the whole thing where he will only agree to be creative partners with her if she agrees to be his girlfriend.
Which is
terrible. And she
terrible.
reacts appropriately by slapping him in the damn face.
Yeah, and that's probably one of my favorite panels. It's really good.
Yeah.
And then right after that, like, Fukuda finds out, finds him, and then also punches him in the face.
Yeah. Like, I kind of popped and was like, yeah! Get it, Aoki! Smack that idiot in the face. Yeah, no, that was really gratifying. And at least where I'm at right now, after that happened, he like went back to live with his parents, and everyone's trying to like get him to come back to do manga, which to me, I'm just like, no, everyone should forget about him because he's a monster. But I think I was talking to you, like, apparently he comes back.
He does come back, and he's still the worst.
He's still the worst.
Okay,
he gets
good.
more of the worst.
Excellent.
So I do think that he's not a good character, in the sense of he's not someone you want to root for.
Yeah.
And
He's interesting. He's just the worst.
Yeah, and he does have a little bit of like I kind of feel for him, because he's like, he's like, I've tried for 30 years, like I'm in my 30s, I've been trying for years. I just want to be successful, find a wife, like that's my dream. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I mean, it doesn't excuse you for being the absolute worst, and you deserve what you get. You're terrible.
Yeah.
But like a little bitty part of me like feels bad for him, and then I feel bad about myself for feeling bad for him because he's kind of the worst, and he like gets worse.
And it bugs me that like everyone else is like empathetic for him. They're just like, no, like we need to get him to come back. And it's like, no, he should leave. No one should be friends with him because he's a jerk.
Yeah, and that's kind of more of the same issue with the kind of the female characters, and I guess the writers' and artists' opinion on their perspective on women, which is not great.
You came around to lift me up, wipe away my frown. Love is here to stay. I'm not worried, I'm on the way. I found love, now I'm sure that we'll be happy.
Okay, thanks for sticking with us through all those characters. There's a bunch more, even more on my list that I thought we were going to talk about that we don't have time to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's a big 176 chapter series. There's a lot of characters.
Yeah, there's a ton. Okay, so let's jump kind of into the story. We'll kind of talk about big arcs and kind of ideas of things about that we liked. I don't think we really have time or really the brain power to remember or go through all the different 3 chapter or single chapter arcs that there are throughout this whole manga. Okay, so the first kind of phase I want to talk about is kind of the middle school arc. So right when they decide they want to write manga, they start going and talk to Hattori at Jump, and they write there are 2 Earths, 1,000,000 minutes, and money and intelligence, or the 3 they try to get before they get serialized with the Trap.
Yeah.
So of that kind of time frame, if you can remember, what were some big things that stuck out to you or things that you liked?
I just really like the way that the series that they're like, you kind of get to see like from the very beginning how they're trying to come up with the series. So you kind of get to see that creative process, and just the way that I think we've talked about this a little bit just like in our personal conversation, but the way that the artist is not only doing the art for Bakuman, but he also does the art for like all these made up series that the creators are making, which is a really cool trick for like the artist to do.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fun for him too, to kind of get to draw like, oh, what would okay, well, this character thinks this way, so how would they draw? Okay, let me try to do that and kind of adjust his style to the styles of his characters that he's making up in his head.
Yeah. I like the series they come up with are like all kind of like seinen, like older reader styles, and it's really cool to see all that kind of stuff. And it's really interesting to see like how they're kind of developing those ideas and getting more professional about how to create those, like the structure of those stories. And I especially liked seeing Mashiro, how him kind of getting more accustomed to like the tools of the trade, like the like actual ink pens that they use and stuff like that, because a lot of American comics these days are like, it's mostly digital. Like you will get people who prefer to do physical, but a lot of the times it's the line art is done physically and then it'll be scanned and colored digitally. So it's interesting to see all like the very analog style of doing the art like that.
Yeah, so I like that a lot too, and I kind of liked how at the beginning at least they kind of go through like the first like 5 to 10 chapters. They do a lot of like, you don't know what this is about manga, let me explain it to you. Like, this is what anime is. You don't know that? You're so silly.
The
I'm like,
manuscript. And
or like, oh, these are the types of pen we use. Like, oh, backgrounds. Well, we'll go through, this is how you write manga, and kind of give like a step-by-step kind of idea of this is how we actually write stuff. To me, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm learning. This is cool. I feel like I'm learning as I read this. I guess I was doing turn the page, but I was doing it the wrong way. Whoops. And whatever. Turn the page. I think that's really interesting. I really like that kind of at the beginning, how they have that they kind of spend some time, the writers, to be like, hey, like this is how the process of writing manga. And I was like, oh, cool. Like manga inception, manga about writing manga. Neat.
Like it kind of feels like a sports manga in that kind of way, where like they're explaining all the rules for how the like quote unquote battle of manga will take place.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was super cool, and they kind of do that really at the beginning, and they also kind of establish the themes and like how like what types of struggles and that kind of deals are going to be. That they're like, oh, well, we have to get the ratings because the ratings are really important. They kind of like set up, like how you just said, the whole base of, hey, this is what this manga is going to be about. This is how the battles are going to take place and what have you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So the next arc kind of section we'll talk about is, they get like the Tezuka award or whatever, the golden whatever award, and they finally get serialized with Trap, their mystery manga.
Yeah, it's like their hero who gets bad guys by like ensnaring them in traps with evidence and stuff. Like, you're going to jail because I caught you doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a detective manga where it's like, oh, but it's like backwards, where he like traps them by catching them in the act or tricking them into kind of, I guess, almost committing crimes.
Yeah.
Like, you were going to commit this crime anyways, and I found out beforehand, so I tricked you into stopping you with, like, caught you red-handed with the police here, yada, yada, all that stuff.
And they say it's like a mystery manga, which is sort of uncommon for shonen, which is their style. They're very, non-mainstream.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was cool, and trying to go head to head with Crow and it not really working out.
And this also has the hospitalization arc in there, which is pretty big. And then it also has like the Color Fusical arc, where Team Fukuda comes together for the first time to go and be upset about what's his face.
Yeah, Koji, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, the music artist guy who shows up and I thought was going to be important and then immediately disappears.
And never comes back.
See him again. Because his weird music manga thingy.
I don't know.
It was weird. But yeah, that was a cool arc. That's also, I believe, the first time that Mashiro and Azuki see each other post them making the promise to not see each other till their dreams come true, which I thought was really interesting. At least like that part of their promise was kind of realistic, and that like they made this huge like anime promise of like, we're not going to see each other until our dreams come true, that promise we made when we were kids. And I thought it was interesting that like that wasn't all black and white. Like there are multiple moments where they're just forced to see each other again because that's how life works.
Yeah.
And I thought that part of their promise was cool.
Yeah, that they the writer and the artist, like the mangakas, do a good job of, hey, there's this like idealized thing that's ridiculous that no one really do. That's just a manga thing that like drives the story. But at the same time, we're going to like, this is still like real enough that we're going to try to, that they kind of throw in wrenches and even into that, I know, like perfect anime plan that they have.
Yeah.
So I'm also glad that they got the hospitalization arc out of the way kind of early, because we haven't talked about it here, but Mashiro, the main character, the artist guy, his uncle died writing manga because he wrote himself to death.
Yeah.
And so it was a big deal, and that's why he was like, I'm never going to write manga, it's stupid, or because he thought at first that his uncle committed suicide because he's like, oh, writing manga can't be that hard. And then, he's a big inspiration throughout the series, and the editor-in-chief was his editor at one point and all this stuff. So I knew eventually they were going to hospitalize Mashiro as a kind of a parallel type deal. Like, you knew that was eventually going to happen.
Because he was working really hard.
Yeah.
And you had to, like, don't become your uncle and work yourself to death.
Yeah, and so since that, I knew that was going to happen. I'm glad that they did it kind of early and I don't want to say got that out of the way, but they did that arc, did it early, and then the rest could be focused on the actual characters and other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Next is the Tonto arc. So this is Mira's first full thing with them when they go and try to do gag manga.
Yeah, because this is after Trap gets canceled. Mira convinces them to do a gag manga because he's really fixated on jokes.
And to be fair, they said they did like at the end of Trap, they decided to do like 3 different styles. They did like a more battle manga style, they did a gag manga style, and they did a gag manga style, and then something else.
Yeah.
Like at the very end, they did like their last 3 chapters when they knew they were already going to get canceled to try their hands at other things.
Future Watch was what they were trying to do. Like it was either going to be Tonto or Future Watch, and they like ran both of those as one shots, and Tonto ended up getting more votes.
Yeah.
Which was really frustrating because even Nizuma was like, Future Watch is better.
Yeah.
But like it's not going to be popular.
Yeah, and so that's the whole kind of inner struggle with Ashirogi the whole time is what they really, really want. They like, if they wrote in an older magazine, that one that targeted an older audience, their style would fit perfectly, but they're so
set on being in Jump.
That's the whole kind of struggle that they have to go through is figure out some way to have their darker, more mature style fit into a younger target audience magazine.
Yeah. And just, I really liked seeing, there was a lot of struggle in that arc.
Yeah.
Because of how much, like, Tagaki kind of writes himself to death trying to, like, come up with gags and, like, is just grasping at straws at some point. Mashiro is totally unhappy with like the style that he's drawing in and just knows that because like it's normal for a gag manga to like sit around like the 11th 12th place kind of zone and just like be doing enough to not get canceled.
Yeah.
And he just feeling completely unfulfilled because he knows that it will never be able to compete with Nizuma. So then they decide to cancel it on their own terms.
Yeah, just straight up like, all right, we're done with this. We're gonna like scrap. We want to do something different.
Yeah, and then like the like editor in chief was like, well, if you do that, then you can just stop writing for Jump. And then like they have a big argument, and they have their big, I guess jumping into the next arc, their big like, okay, try a bunch of different series, and if you get one that gets enough votes, then you can serialize it, and if not, then you're done writing for Jump forever.
Yeah, and that's kind of a theme throughout a lot of stuff. A lot of the things they do, they like put these ridiculous restrictions on themselves because they, we're gonna have to. They're so angry and they fight with the editorial department so much that they kind of get these weird restrictions that they have to put on themselves. Oh, you have to reach this high to do this specific thing in this amount of time or what have you to really raise the stakes on this new manga. And so in Tonto is probably the worst one where they quit and then they're like, okay, well fine, if you want to quit, then the next thing you have like 6 months, and by that point if you haven't written something that's number 1 or that can beat Nizuma, who is like this god mangaka type guy, then like you can never write here again. They're like, oh, we can do it, or
however it goes.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I did like about Tonto a lot, because there was a lot of struggle, which was interesting, but I also really liked their new assistant that they get to come in, like the dude with the cap. I wrote his name down. What's his name? Orihara is like the really like pumped up dude that's like super psyched to be
like
there all
like
the
the
time.
kid.
Yeah,
like I think he starts off in high school, but then like as
and
the
he
series
sticks
goes
around with
on,
them
he
forever.
sticks
Yeah,
around.
so he's pretty fun.
Yeah,
and I think he
he's-
adds a really good like light, energetic, easy dynamic to like the way too serious Mashiro kind of stuff in their little drawing room all the time.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. I liked him.
So I liked him. All right, getting to the last arc, the PCP arc. So this is the Perfect Crime Party. They're one manga that finally, they culminate all the stuff they've been working towards, and they find the thing that works for them. And I know that you're still in this arc right now, or this kind of section.
Like I'm like in like if you're reading the like volumes that Viz puts out, I'm in like I just finished volume 12.
Gotcha.
So they're still competing. They've already beat Natural.
Nice.
And now Natural is just kind of hanging out around the 7th, 8th place.
Yeah, and Natural
mark.
is Iwase's and Nizuma's
Yeah.
manga that they're writing together.
And like they had to at least beat that if they wanted to keep writing and Jump.
Yeah.
Because she had like a big crossover with Crow, and that like put her up really high for a while. But then the crossover caused the fans to not be so interested.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hang around the lower parts, and now PCP is always like 5th, 4th place, something like that.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't talked about it yet, but PCP is a really funny abbreviation because they kept saying. I think you had said it before I read it in the manga, and I was just like, they write the drug manga? What's happening?
Yeah, they just take PCP, they take acid, and then write manga. That's it.
I'd read that.
I would too.
But it's Perfect Crime Party is the which is it's a cool. I like the style that Mashiro draws for that.
Yeah.
too.
And that's their whole like serious humor that they end up is like the ticket, their secret to writing, popular manga or what
that
have
they get
you.
inspiration from Hiromura.
Yeah. And this is definitely with PCP, it eventually the manga itself, like Bakuman, starts to get less about what's the next manga that we have to write, and more about the characters that happen. Kind of the actual day-to-day writing stuff that has been most of the manga. Kind of once PCP, because PCP is so popular and kind of they found their thing, that Bakuman starts to focus on character interactions and more of that kind of stuff, as you'll keep reading, than just Mashiro and Tagagi trying to, make it in the next serialization meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Bakuman really starts to shine, is when the characters take more center focus and their interactions and their kind of battles or what have you. Because I think that's more interesting than just the Mashiro and Takagi and Hattori or whoever trying to get the next thing.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where the series goes.
Yeah. So, is there anything since PCP has started that really sticks out to you that you really like?
I guess like I'm assuming that there will probably still continue to be like more new series that people are trying to come up with, because where I'm sitting right now, everyone is saying that PCP got like the drama CD and the like light novel.
Yeah.
But people are saying that PCP just doesn't have what it needs to take to become an anime.
Yep.
Which is ultimately what Mashiro wants, so his dreams can come true with Azuki.
Yeah.
So Mashiro is trying to figure out a way that he can write or draw manga fast enough to where he can be doing 2 series at the same time, like Nizuma does, while Tagaki is writing for Shiratori's manga that he just started. Also, Shiratori's awesome. We didn't talk about Shiratori in the character section,
you're
but
right.
I really, really, really like Shiratori and like his whole deal with his family.
Yeah, his deal with his family and him and his dog and all that stuff.
Like he comes from an aristocratic family and his mom thinks that manga's stupid.
Yeah. Have you finished that yet?
Yeah, I just I guess like 2 chapters ago or something was when his family came to the studio.
Okay, cool. You've got to that.
Yeah, so that was really, really cool. And I'm excited to see Shiratori do more stuff. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that I think is really cool is just them continually trying to improve their skills, but it's like stuff that isn't the same kind of skills that they were trying to improve before, like trying to draw faster instead of trying to adapt their style into something that will be popular and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think as you keep reading, I think the best stuff is yet to come.
Yeah, with more character interactions. And
More
stuff
character
like that,
interactions,
yeah.
and then definitely my favorite arc is probably like one of the last arcs is probably my favorite. So I do think that the manga is better as it goes. So I'm excited for you to read that.
Yeah, and we're doing this episode to kind of get like most of the stuff out of the way. But I think we will end up doing a bonus episode talking about the end of the series because I do plan on finishing it.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the art, and then we'll kind of close it out because this is getting kind of long.
Yeah.
So the art style and overall kind of how Obata kind of draws all this. What do you think?
Really, really cool. I like all the perspectives he does. A lot of his backgrounds are amazing. Mm-hmm. Everything feels really dynamic, like a shonen manga should. Mm-hmm. Like it'll do a lot of like close-ups of people yelling, and really comes across like the fire of competition between the characters. But then I also really, really like how they'll turn on a dime into comedy. I love the faces that they make when they like do like a serious joke or something.
Yeah.
And they'll just have like the weird like straight nose and like like kind of a little squinty eye kind of thing going on. And those faces are always funny. I laugh at them every time they show up.
Yeah. I do think that he does a very dynamic style there's a lot of times where he'll do kind of like big characters that are like standing over multiple panels or something like that. And when he does like actual character kind of designs, I think they look really, really good. But then he has that like panned next to or on the next page will have something that you're talking about, like someone standing there with like noodles coming out of their nose or like the real serious face and that kind of stuff. So I think he does a good job of drawing a shonen manga while kind of inside of a slice of life kind of story.
Like something that shouldn't be that dynamic, but the way he draws it makes it come off that way.
Yeah. And I do think, we've talked about it a little bit, I think it's amazing when he will draw other people's manga, and he'll draw like his character's manga, and each of theirs will look a very distinct style.
Yeah, a lot of them will look totally different. Like you look at Hideout Door,
yeah,
and then something like Trap or PCP, and they look super different.
Yeah, and so that he can do all those different styles, I think is really impressive.
Yeah.
So cool. I think it's great. I've really enjoyed the manga. So overall, your conclusion, big, summarizing thoughts. What you got?
I liked it a lot.
Cool. Enough to finish it?
Yeah, enough to finish it, definitely. It's super engaging. The kind of main quest for all the characters. And it's just there's so many characters, and it's really interesting to see the way they interact with each other. It unfortunately does have issues with how it portrays female characters.
Definitely.
Which is kind of a big sticking point, but like there's enough that's cool about it to at least like have me want to finish it.
Yeah.
It was hard to go to try and finish it before this episode because it is, as far as like a shonen manga, it's pretty dense.
Yeah.
Like all the pages have tons of text because it's kind of got a Food Wars thing going on where there's so much technical stuff going on that they need to cover all that. But it has really seeing all the different styles in the manga have inspired me to read way more manga because I've gotten having been tested to read this for a time sensitive thing has gotten me used to reading manga on my phone. I used to only read it on my computer because I like having the big thing, but I like reading manga on my phone now, so I'll probably end up reading a lot more manga. Like I just recently started reading just kind of as a throwaway palate cleanser thing from reading so much Bakuman. I started reading So I'm a Spider, So What? Which is a weird thing.
I have no idea.
We can talk about
is.
that later.
Okay.
But look it up, everyone out there. It's strange, but kind of cool. But yeah, it's a really cool series. I'm excited to finish it.
Nice.
Even for its flaws.
Yeah, I do think the female thing is definitely a striking flaw that the more you read it, the more it sticks out. But I think for the most part, it has very relatable characters and a nice kind of fun story that's really engaging with good pacing to kind of keep you engaged in reading all the way through the end.
Yeah.
Great. It is now time for the ratings.
Ratings.
Yes, and I'm sure that you already know what I'm going to say, but on a scale from 1 to Inception, where do you find this? Because this is obviously a manga inception of a manga about manga, right? You know, so between 1 to Inception, where does it fall?
I would say that from 1 to Inception, this would be a Yo Dog meme.
Yep, that'll work.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, yo dog, I heard you like manga, so here's a manga
About a
manga.
That works way more perfectly than I was expecting when I first thought of it. Awesome.
All right, great. Yeah, perfect. I'm glad we all know exactly
We
where
all
that
agree.
falls. Do you want to put a Noah stamp of approval on this? Do you remember? Because I have my own, right?
Yeah,
with the
sure.
sound. So, what would a Noah stamp of approval sound like? Unless you don't want to stamp this with your approval.
No, I think I
which
got it.
understand.
My approval. My
Would you
approval
stamp
sound... Oh yeah, no, I definitely
Okay,
approve it.
okay.
Yeah,
So
there's no
approve it?
question.
So, okay, good. Then what would your put your stamp on it? Here we go. Put your stamp on it.
It's like a wet seal. You know?
Yeah. Okay, hey, we need a clean take. Clean take. Here we go.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Gross. Oh, it's right on my hand.
You're welcome.
All right.
There you go.
Solid, yeah. All right, cool. That's all for Bakuman this time. So, Noah, for me, what you got?
All right, so I think we did manga this time, and we have a guest episode coming up later.
Hey, get excited.
Where we'll be also watching. I guess we can say it now.
Sure.
We're one
I
of
mean,
our.
we make the rules.
Yeah,
we do
sure.
what we want.
Yeah. We have like 4 listeners.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're cool with it. We're gonna be doing a guest episode with one of our friends, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And he's going to have us be watching the movie Your Name.
Yes, I haven't
It's
seen
a
it. You've seen it.
Yes,
already.
I
haven't seen
I
it.
have already seen. I saw it before we agreed to do the episode, so we're still within the rules of
Yeah.
whatever the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw it, and it's a anime movie that came out last year. Super good. Recommend you see it. We're going to talk about it in a couple weeks. But for the next episode, well, I think that might be the next episode. For the episode after that.
So that's going to be 2 weeks from right now when you're listening to this.
I think maybe we haven't
Okay.
figured it out yet.
Cool.
So watch both of these things, because
Yeah.
what I'm about to recommend
Uh-huh.
is a series that recently came out on Netflix. So this is the hottest
Ooh, the
take
hottest
ever.
take.
Because I think this is the most recent media we've had come out so far. Because I just finished watching this series last week, and I liked it so much that I really want you to see it and see what
Okay.
you think about it. Kind of going brutal again for me in the same vein that Hotline Miami was
Okay.
brutal. But what we were going to talk about next week is Devilman Crybaby.
Devilman Crybaby.
Yes. Have you heard of this?
I have not. Does it have anything to do with Devil May Cry?
No.
Okay, because it sounds very similar. Because it's Devil. What was it? It was
Devilman Crybaby.
Devil Man.
Yeah.
Crybaby.
It's
Gotcha.
a 10-episode miniseries on Netflix. It's all self-contained. It is very brutal. I'd say not for the faint of heart. It's very gory. It's got a lot of, like, I'd say sexual content in it.
Okay.
But it's based off of an older series. Like the original Devilman was like from like the 70s. And they've done a bunch of different Devilman series for a while.
Sure.
And this is the most recent one, and it's called Crybaby because one of the characters, Akira, throughout the whole series, people have criticized that he is like always crying, and this is kind of a take on that, where he's a very empathetic character. So like if someone says something sad happened to them, he will just start crying. Like tears will just start streaming down his face. And I guess the main thing about what Devilman is there's demons in the world, and there's humans, and Akira becomes a Devilman, because he gets possessed by a demon, but his human heart is so strong that he can still retain his humanity while having the body of a demon.
Gotcha.
So, and that's a lot of the series has to deal with that and all the characters throughout. But it's
And this is an anime.
yeah, it's an anime.
Gotcha.
It's got a crazy style. Like the animation's good, but it's also crazy. Like if you know who Tex Avery is in American animation,
Nope.
His style's nuts. And yeah, Devilman Crybaby is crazy. I recommend you watch it.
Yeah,
And we will
if
talk
you
about it
are old enough.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard R-rated kind of thing.
A freaking pirate R.
Yes.
That hard.
R-rated. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing in one of the next episodes. Still undecided whether or not it's going to be Your
maybe
Name
next
or
week.
Devilman.
Maybe,
They're both short enough to where you can probably get them both under your belt within 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, we will tweet about
Yeah,
which one it is
exactly.
On our Twitter.
Make you see that Twitter profile.
Yeah, you can check us out at it's dude check this, but with underscores.
Yes.
So at dude _ check _ this. It's not very hard. It's just dude check this.
Simple.
With some underscores in there. You could also email us at dudecheckthisoutpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send us anything, send us some fan art, because we have so much good content already. Or just, things that we should check out, things that if you've already read Bakuman and you love it, or you're like, no, their female characters are great. You can, send us whatever, or I would never read that. I understand. You can also, we have a YouTube. It's just literally
You may be listening to this episode on that
YouTube.
page.
Yeah. You can check us out at it's just Dude Check This Out podcast.
Yeah, on YouTube.
On YouTube. Or anywhere else you get podcast. You can subscribe. It'd be fun. We do whatever. You do you, man. We love you. We love you.
We love you.
Thanks for listening. Noah, you got anything else to say to the fans? All 5 of them? All the ones that we know personally?
Probably that we'll see you in a couple minutes to hang out.
yeah. Sam?
As of this recording.
Yeah. Jordan, Johnny Boy, we'll probably, we'll head over.
Yeah. And to everyone else out there that may be listening that isn't in our immediate friend group.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. How you doing? So I guess that'll do it.
That'll do it, guys.
Yeah, hey.
All right, yeah, thanks for
End of the
listening.
show.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks for sticking with us. It was a long one. We appreciate it. You guys are beautiful. If you were in this room, I'd give you a hug. Every single one of you listening right now, I would hug you. All right, I would do
That's
it.
high praise.
It is high praise. All right, well, that's it. We're done.
everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. Hey everybody, it's just me in Noah's room. I'm by myself, checking it out, waiting for Noah to get back. How you doing, Internet? I hope you're doing good. Sam, Johnny Boy, hope you're doing well. Are you listening in a car? Are you listening at the gym? Please let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at dude_check_this. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Internet. Yeah, I'm talking to them by myself. What do you want?